Hello everyone. Namaste to all gadgeted officers, IS, IPS, doctors, surgeons. Welcome back to my channel. Today we are moving ahead with weekly current affairs, science and technology part 4, continuing from updates number 42 onwards out of 65 important news. If you have not watched part 1, part 2 and part 3, I highly recommend you to go through them first so that your preparation is complete and well connected. This series is especially designed for UPSC, BPSC, State PCS, SSC, SBI, IBPS, NDA, CDS, and other competitive exams aspirants. I hope these updates will definitely strengthen your preparation and make your revision more effective. Coming up next, grammar series subject verb agreement part 2, important for SSC, SBI, IBPS, UPSC, BPSC and other exam. Biology series gastrointestinal tract part 5, explaining the pancreas endocrine function, especially useful for NEET, AIMS, UPSC, and BPSC aspirants. Always remember, success is not achieved in a single day. My dear aspirants, my dear students, always remember, success is not achieved in a single day, but built daily through patience, consistency, and hard work. But built daily through your patience, your consistency, your hard work. So keep learning, keep moving forward, and never give up on your dream. After watching this video, if you found this video beneficial, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to my channel for more such detailed content. So let's start today's updates and keep moving forward with focus and consistency. 42 news is ancient mud waves rewrite Atlantic Ocean history. Research Recent research has uncovered gigantic huge mud waves nearly a kilometer below the Atlantic seabed west of Guinea-Bissau. So this news is from Guinea-Bissau, from the Atlantic Sea bed west of Guinea-Bissau. Recent research has discovered gigantic mud waves nearly a kilometer, which is beneath the Atlantic seabed west of Guinea-Bissau. So this structure date back 117 years and were sculpted by dense underwater avalanches. So these findings reveal the early Atlantic waters which curves through Earth's crust much earlier than previously thought. So this discovery changes our understanding of how the Atlantic Ocean formation take place. It also offers a new information about Cretaceous climate shift and tectonic movements also. About discovery of 117 million year old mud waves using advanced seismic imaging and an archived drilling data. With the help of these two methods, advanced seismic imaging and archive drilling data, scientists discovered massive mud waves which was buried deep beneath the Atlantic sea floor. Massive mud waves which was beneath the Atlantic seafloor. So these waves stretch over a kilometer in length and rise hundreds of meters high. So these waves spread over a kilometer in length, and it has a capacity to rise hundreds of meters high. So these waves were formed when dense salty water came from the young North Atlantic, which spilled into the southern basin. That time, this mud waves formed when very dense salty water come from young North Atlantic, and this spilled into southern basin. Then this old mud waves were formed. So this created powerful underwater currents. This help in creating powerful underwater currents that shaped the sea floor, help in shaping the sea floor. So this evidence suggests that equatorial Atlantic gateway opened earlier than earlier models predicted. Whatever the earlier model predicted, the evidence suggests the equatorial Atlantic gateway opened previously. About implication for Atlantic Ocean formation, the early opening of equatorial Atlantic gateway indicates the Atlantic became a fully connected ocean sooner. So these challenges previous geological timelines. The connection between northern and southern basin or altered ocean circulation pattern. It also influenced the movement of heat and nutrients globally. Understanding this transition help reconstruct Earth's plate tectonics. To understand Earth's plate tectonic and oceanographic history more accurately. So the mixing of saline North Atlantic waters with dense rich deep waters triggered large underwater mud avalanches, mud waves. These avalanches reshaped the ocean floor and disturbed ancient carbon sediments. And disturb ancient carbon sediments. So this disturbance disruption likely released help in releasing greenhouse gases into the atmosphere. So such emission contributed to the increase in global temperature, increase in global warming of the mid Cretaceous period, which known as a greenhouse world. So it is known as a greenhouse world because such emission, this disruption happened because of the mixing of saline North Atlantic water with a dense carbon rich deep waters, help in triggering large underwater mud avalanches, and these help in releasing greenhouse gases, methane, carbon dioxide gases into the temperature and leading to the global temperature, leading to the global warming of the mid Cretaceous period known as a world. It is known as a greenhouse world. So this global warming, this rising temperature affected ocean chemistry, circulation, and also marine life evolution for millions of years. What are the significance for paleoceanography and climate modeling? So it's with the help of paleoceanography to study about the ocean geography. This discovery sharpens models of ancient ocean behavior and also help in knowing the climate feedback loops. It also help in clarifying how early ocean gateways control heat movement and carbon sequestration in marine sediments. It also give revised timeline which offers insight into long-term climate trends, including warming and cooling phases. Studying these deep type processes improves understanding of the link between ocean circulation and Earth's climate system. Next news is DSP Mutual Fund launches Flexi Cap Quality Index Fund. DSP Mutual Fund introduced the DSP Nifty 500 Flexi Cap Quality 30 Index Fund. So this fund is India's first low cost flexi cap strategy. This fund is India's first low cost flexi cap strategy that mixes quality stock selection with dynamic market capitalization allocation. It mixes with quality stock selection with dynamic market capitalization allocation. So it help in improving, it aims to help investor to navigate changing equity markets, to involve in changing equity markets through a rule based automated approach, because it is totally dependent on rule based automated approach. So it increase confidence of investors to indulge in this type of mutual funds. About the fund review, the fund's new fund offer NFO The fund's new fund offer period was from 8 to 22nd August 25. So it replicates the Nifty 500 Flexi Cap Quality 30 Index, which selects 30 fundamentally strong companies. It replicates Nifty 500 Flexi Cap Quality 30 Index, which consists of 30 fundamentally strong companies. These companies, fundamental strong companies, are equally divided across large, mid, and small cap segments. And this fund uses a passive investment. This fund uses a passive investment style to reduce cost and complexity for investors whoever is investing in mutual funds. Quality stock selection criteria. What are quality stock selection criteria? Quality stocks are chosen based on financial strength. Key parameters include high return on equity, low levels, and consistent earning growths. It also ensured the fund invest only in companies with strong fundamentals. It also gives equal weighting within each segments and also help in avoiding concentration risk. About dynamic flexi cap allocating using with momentum allocation between large cap and small cap and mid cap SMID is adjusted quarterly. So it is done using a momentum based signal derived from the ratio of large cap and small mid cap SMID to large caps compared to its 200-day moving average. Allocation can shift to either 33% or 67% in each segment based on the signal. So this dynamic approach captures market trends while maintaining equity. So benefits over traditional strategy. So this one removes the need for investor to time the market or switch scheme frequently. So its passive structure means rebalancing happens without triggering tax outflow or exit loads. So its passive structure includes reshaping without triggering tax outflow or exit any loads. So this contrasts with active flexi cap funds where frequent trading can increase cost and tax liabilities. So the funds is transparent, rule-based design. It reduces noise and complexity. About investment philosophy and market positioning, DSP Mutual Fund emphasizes investing in high quality businesses. So its main focus is to invest in high quality businesses which should be at reasonable valuation to achieve compounding. So it is the main benefit of DSP Mutual Fund. It also launched its launch also coincide with a period when the quality factor is underpriced, help in offering potential long-term benefits. This fund combines agility through momentum drive allocation with resilience via quality stock filter. So this fund combines agility through momentum drive allocation with resilience via quality stock filters. Next news is Sea of Galilee turns red. Sea of Galilee turns red. It is a news from Israel. The Sea of Galilee in Israel displayed an unusual red hue over several days. That is a presence, the sea color becomes red over several days, which is seen in the Sea of Galilee in Israel. Israeli authorities have investigated and explained the phenomenon, explained this process as a natural occurrence linked to algal growths. According to that, there is a vast amount of algae growth take place, and this is the reason red algae growth take place, and the sea looks red over several days in Sea of Galilee in Israel. What is the reason of red coloration? The Sea of Galilee, which is present in Israel, is largest freshwater lake. Its color changes because due to presence of red due to algal bloom, because more number of increase of growth of algae in that sea. official confirm the water remain, but the water is not contaminated because of this algal bloom. Water is safe for human consumption. The green algae, the name of that green algae, it's not a red algae. The name of the green algae is Botryococcus brownie. The name of the green algae is Botryococcus brownie, which is common in the Sea of Galilee, common in the lake, produces red pigment under sunlight. Actually, it's not because the red color of the Sea of Galilee because of red algae. It is because of green algae. And the name of that green algae is Botryococcus brownie. Brownie. It produces red pigment under sunlight when it exposed to sunlight. So this pigment accumulated cause the striking red tint. This pigment accumulated in the body of green algae and causes the sea to looks red. The Water Ministry continues to monitor the lake's water quality and ecosystem health, and they inform the water remains safe for human. But it is because of the green algae Botryococcus brownie, which contains red pigment and the sunlight, and it accumulated, stored the many amount of green algae growth take place, and there is a accumulation of red pigment which causes the change the color of sea into red. Botryococcus brownie is a green algae from, and the group is a Chlorophyta group. Chlorophyta means green algae. Belong to the Chlorophyta group. Chlorophyta means it is produces carotenoid pigments, and these carotenoid pigments turns red in sunlight. Chlorophyta groups consist of carotenoid pigments, and this carotenoid pigment has the ability to turns red in under sunlight. So, this Botryococcus brownie is known for producing hydrocarbon also. So, these algae is studied for biofuel potential, used as a biofuel. So, its sudden increase, its sudden bloom in the Sea of Galilee is really unusual, but it's not harmful to humans. It's remains safe for humans. Similar algal blooms have been recorded in Israel before, including in the Dead Sea area in 2022. Algal blooms and climate change. Algal blooms, global warming increases sea and lake temperature. As we know very well, if there is a global warming, there must be the increase in sea and lake temperature. So it creating ideal condition for algae reproduction, for algae growth, for increase in number because of the lake temperature become warmer, and it is a sufficient, it is a good for the algal bloom and for algal reproduction. Nutrient level, especially nitrogen and phosphorus, further help in algae growth. Nutrients level are more also in nitrogen and phosphorus in the sea. Also, boost also help algae growth. So these growth in algal bloom can harm aquatic ecosystem. It will harm aquatic ecosystem because there is a more amount of algae on surface of sea, so it will definitely block sunlight and reduce it. It reduces oxygen when algae decompose, because algae consume oxygen, and the oxygen level is decreased in aquatic habitat, and when algae decompose also. So the Sea of Galilee's red algae bloom is a part of a wider pattern linked to climate change impacts on freshwater bodies. So it is not affected we human, but it is definitely effective aquatic ecosystem, because there is a lack of oxygen in aquatic ecosystem, and other aquatic organism will be affected. About geographical and historical significance of the Sea of Galilee. Sea of Galilee is about 21 km long, 13 km wide, covering 166 meters square, kilometers square. So it lies 209 meters below sea level, marking it the lowest freshwater lake on earth. Point should be noted, because it lies 209 meters below sea level, so making it the lowest freshwater lake on earth. So it fed mainly by the Jordan River. It sits in the Jordan Rift Valley, which is formed by tectonic plate movements. The lake is known by several names, including Lake Tiberias and Warm Kinreth. It holds biblical importance and remains an important source of fish and tourism. About ecological concern and monitoring, though the algae bloom, algae more increase in growth take place, it does not pose a direct health risk to human, but it immediately alarming for lakes ecosystem, for aquatic ecosystem. It is threatening to the lake ecosystem, aquatic ecosystem. Thick algae layers reduce sunlight penetration, affecting underwater life. Oxygen depletion also take place from algae decay. It can cause hypoxia means when there is a less amount of oxygen, so it cause hypoxia. Hypoxia causes, so it definitely causes the death of fishes and other aquatic organisms, so endangering fish and other organisms. So there is a demand of continuous monitoring by Israeli authorities. They aim to manage these risks and preserve the lake's ecological balance. And these are the all reason of because of global warming. The main concern is this. The next news is 2025 Numbeo Index. Numbeo Index. It's a very important news. India ranked 67th globally in the mid 2025 Numbeo Safety Index with a score of 55.8. India ranked 67th globally in the mid 2025 Numbeo Safety Index with a score is 55.8 and position is 67th globally in the mid 2025 Numbeo Safety Index. Globally, Eastern cities dominate the top safety position. Middle Eastern cities are having very good safety position, so they are dominating the top safety position, with Abu Dhabi leading for the ninth consecutive year. So Abu Dhabi is leading for the ninth consecutive year in 2025 Numbeo Index. Safety cities in India, about safest city in India, Mangalore topped the list with a safety index of 74.2. It ranks 49th worldwide. It low because of Mangalore is having low crime rates, effective civic infrastructure. Next is the Gujarat. Gujarat dominates with three cities with safest city in India, and Gujarat is Vadodara 69.2, Ahmedabad 68.2, and Surat 66.6. And these are the score point. Southern cities like Trivandrum and Chennai also safest city in India in the top 10, reflecting good urban governance. List safe city according to Numbeo Index. New Delhi, as all of you know, New Delhi, Ghaziabad. New Delhi, Noida, Ghaziabad rank among the most unsafe Indian cities. Delhi's crime index is 59.3. 0.03, Ghaziabad 58.44, Noida is 55.1. So there are many safety concern, and safety concern especially for women remain high in these cities, New Delhi, Noida and Ghaziabad. So these cities face issues like violent crime, harassment and property crimes. About global safety leaders, Abu Dhabi leads as the world safety city with a score of 88.8 for the ninth year running. Other Middle Eastern cities like Doha, Dubai, and Sharjah also feature in the top 5. Doha, Dubai, Sharjah also feature in the top 5, and Abu Dhabi leads the world safest city with a score of 88.8. Taiwan's Tepi ranks 5th globally. Taiwan's Tepi ranked 5th globally in the world's safest city. The UAE ranks 2nd among countries overall. So these are the top 10 safest city in India. A higher safety index indicates there is a low crime and better public security. So the latest report places Mangalore at the top of the list as India's safest city, closely by Vadodara, Ahmedabad, and Surat, showcasing Gujarat's has a strong presence, strong safety index. On the flip side, cities in the national capital NCR, Delhi NCR, like Delhi, Noida, and Ghaziabad, continue to face major many safety challenges. So, first is Mangalore safety index given, crime index, global rank Mangalore 49, Vadodara, Gujarat 69.2, safety index, global rank 85, Ahmedabad, Gujarat at 68.2, global rank 93. Surat, so Baroda, Ahmedabad, Gujarat. So they are in second, third, and fourth, all from Gujarat. 66.6 Surat and a global rank 106. Jaipur, Rajasthan is in fifth position, 65.2 safety index and global rank 118. Then Navi Mumbai, Madras, 63.5 and global rank 126. Seventh is in Trivandrum, Kerala, safety index 61.1, global rank 149. Chennai in 8th position, Tamil Nadu, safety index 60.3 and global rank 158. Ninth is Pune, Maharashtra, safety index 58.7 and global rank 167. 10th is Chandigarh, safety index 57.4, global rank 175. So Mangalore safety index is the number one because of low crime rate and better public security. So this is about that. The other side of the coin, least safe cities is the NCR region. How Indian compares globally. So globally, Abu Dhabi continues to hold the crown as the world's safest city for the ninth consecutive year. With a stellar safety index of 88.8, the list of the world's safest cities is dominated by the Middle East, with Doha, Dubai, and Sharjah also in the top five. So top five safest city in the world 2025, Abu Dhabi, UAE 88.8, Doha, Qatar 84.3, third position Dubai, UAE 83.9, fourth position Sharjah, UAE 83.7, fifth position safest city in the world is Taipei from Taiwan 83.6. Due to this reason, there are low crime rates, strong infrastructure, effective public services. So how the safety ranking were calculated, it is based on personal safety, discrimination, based on factors like skin color, ethnicity, gender, or religion, and then property crimes, violent crimes. So these are the safety measure taken while calculating the safety Numbeo safety index. Methodology of safety index is based on public perception. It measures safety during 24 hours, means during day and nights. Factors include risk of mugging, robbery, car theft, physical attacks, harassments, discrimination based on skin color, ethnicity, gender, religion, property crimes such as burglary, vandalism, violent crimes like that. Implication for urban policy, there are few implications. Cities with higher safety scores often have better law enforcement and civic infrastructure. Public perception influences ranking strongly. Addressing crime and discrimination is key to improving urban safety. Regional differences show the need for targeted policies. Next news is UPI data and tax compliance changes in small businesses. UPI data and tax compliance changes in small businesses. Because of the rapid rise of unified payment UPI usage, UPI full form is Unified Payment Interface. So the rapid rise of unified payment interface uses in India has transformed digital payments, digital India. By 2025, UPI transaction reach rupees 260 lakh crore annually. By 2025, UPI transaction reach rupees 260 lakh crore annually, capturing 28% of total retail payments. However, this increase has presented new challenges for tax authorities and also challenges for small vendors. Karnataka Commercial Tax Department use of UPI data to identify tax evaders sparked protests from small traders. So this situation marks the complex balance between digitization, transparency, and concern of small businesses. About UPI growth, UPI started as a peer-to-peer payment method and it has increased to merchant payments. In fiscal year 25, 70% of UPI transactions were peer-to-peer and 30% peer-to-merchant. The share of NEFT payment declined. The share of NEFT payment declined from 61% in fiscal year 18 to 48% in fiscal year 25, showing a shift towards instant digital payment. So this growth reflects convenience but also create a digital trial for all transactions. About tax authorities using UPI data, tax department now mine UPI data to detect unregistered businesses and tax evasion. Karnataka's department analyzed payment above GST exemption limits from 2022 to 25. Notices were sent to thousands of small vendors suspected of evading taxes. So these are the from Karnataka's department. Notices were sent to thousands of small vendors suspected of evading taxes, not giving taxes. So this approach can potentially increase GST revenue by rupees 1.5 lakh crore if unreported taxable sales are identified and taxed properly. So understanding UPI and its benefit for business, there are many benefits when integration with GST, instant fund transfer, enhanced security, cost-effective solution, simplified payments method, competitive advantage, increased customer reach. So these are the benefit for businesses with UPI. Simplifying tax compliance with GST payments, there are understanding the basic of GST payments, the traditional approach, embracing digital transformation, advantages of online GST payments through UPI, comparing payment options. So these are the simplifying tax compliance with GST payments. How UPI and GST payments streamline financial processes. First, to it provide efficiency in transaction. Then it help in simplifying tax compliance. It also improve transparency and accountability. And in turn, it improve cost saving and provides convenience. Exploring the integration of UPI and GST payments, the integration of UPI and GST payment, there are many benefits of integration UPI and GST payments. Available option for UPI GST integration, the best option are also there. The key features of advantages of UPI and GST payments: it improve efficiency, transparency, it provides accuracy, and it is also cost savings. Next news is RBI launches SIP and auto bidding for Treasury Bill 43. RBI, Reserve Bank of India, introduced two major features on its retail direct platform. So these are the systematic investment plans and for treasury bills and an auto bidding facility. So RBI launches systemic investment plan for treasury bills, for T bills and an auto bidding facility. So RBI introduced two major features on its retail direct. Both aim to simplify and encourage improve retail investment in government securities. So this move improve access to short-term government debt instrument for individual investors. About T-bills, about treasury bills, T-bills are short-term debt instrument issued by the government to meet immediate funding needs. They have maturities of 14 days, 91 days, 182 days, or 364 days. So treasury bills are sold at a discount and redeem at face value. The difference between purchase price and redemption amount is the investor earning. They are considered T-bill are considered safe with government backing and offer better returns than idle bank savings. It provides better return than saving in banks. About RBI retail direct platform, RBI Retail Direct platform launched in the year 2021. The RBI Retail Direct portal allows retail investor to buy and sell government securities directly. It removes intermediaries and offers services such as opening gilt accounts, participating in primary auction, and trading in the secondary markets. So this RBI Retail Direct platform also supports sovereign gold bonds. It also supports sovereign gold bonds and floating rate saving bonds. It is designed to democratize government security investment. Introduction of SIP. SIP enables investor to invest regularly, systematically in T-bills. So these allow a small and periodic investment instead of lump sum. So SIP in T-bill is ideal for disciplined saving towards short to medium term goals. It also helps investor to build a continued cycle of investment and reinvestment as T-bills mature. About auto bidding facility for T-bills, auto bidding automates the bidding process for T-bills in primary auction. Investor can set preference such as bid amount, tenure, frequency, and validity. So this system places bid automatically using the National Automated Clearing House for payment. This reduces manual effort and also ensure timely participation in auction. Benefits, and there are some challenges also. T-bill provide a secure option for parking funds for fixed duration. The SIP and auto bidding features make investing easier and more systematic. However, liquidity can be an issue. Investor must hold T-bills until maturity or find buyers in the second market, which may be difficult. Therefore, T-bills suit those with fixed investment horizon and low risk tolerance. What are the impact of this auto bidding facility for T-bills? Introduction of SIP, making T-bills accessible to retail investor can reduce dependence on institutional buyers. It also improve market liquidity and price discovery in short-term debt markets. So it also encourages disciplined saving, better utilization of idle funds in current and saving accounts. Over time, this could deepen the retail investor base in government securities. Next news is Nilgiri Tahar population surge increase. The 2025 joint census of Nilgiri Tahar population in Kerala and Tamil Nadu has recorded 2,668 individuals. So there is an increase in Nilgiri Tahar population. So the joint census of Nilgiri Tahar population happened in Kerala and Tamil Nadu and recorded 2,688 individuals. Kerala accounts for 1,365 Tahars, while Tamil Nadu has 1,303. So population increase, Tahar population, Nilgiri Tahar population increase in Kerala and Tamil Nadu. So these growth marks successful conservation efforts taken place in Kerala and Tamil Nadu, and there is a call for enhanced interstate collaboration also. There is a need for improved interstate collaboration also. About population distribution, the Irvikulam National Park in Kerala hosts the largest contiguous Nilgiri Tahar population in the state with 841 animals. Tamil Nadu's major population are found in Mukuruthi National Park and Grass Hills National Park, which lie near the Kerala border. So there is a enhanced interstate collaboration is required. About 90% of Kerala's Tahar population is concentrated in Munnar landscape. The survey covered 89 census block in Kerala and 182 in Tamil Nadu, confirming the species presence across 19 forest division in Kerala. What are the conservation practices? Control burning in ENP, Irvikulam National Park grassland has been very important in into protecting the Tahar population. Animals are temporarily relocated during burning to protect them. This practice based on traditional knowledge from the Muthuvan tribal community. They promotes fresh grass growth and enhanced food security and reproductive success among Tahar's population. About ecological balance and predator prey dynamics, Nilgiri tahars form a major prey base for apex predators such as tigers and leopards within ENP. Predators means who are killing and consuming prey. So predator presence helps regulate tahar numbers naturally. So it is regulating the tahar number with the help of predators such as tiger and leopards. They are eating tahar. So they are controlling the numbers of tahar population. The availability of prey inside the park reduces predator movement into human habitation, lowering human wildlife conflicts. The park's ecosystem also support species like dholes, nilgiri, langurs, lion-tailed macaques, reflecting rich biodiversity about this park. Survey methodology and historical context. 2025 census used standardized technique like bonded count, double observer. So these two methods are used, bonded count and double observer, to improve data reliability. And then to historically, Nilgiri Tahas ranked widely across the western Ghats. However, there is also habitat loss due to plantation, infrastructure, land use changes, fragmented population. What are the future direction? Growing tahar numbers, increasing tahar numbers underline the need for coordinated management, good coordination between Kerala and Tamil Nadu. Joint strategy is required for their preservation, control of invasive species, and effective anti-poaching measures. So continued monitoring and adaptive management with good collaboration with Kerala and Tamil Nadu will support long-term conservation goals. Next news is seawater wasting disease. Seawater wasting disease. The Pacific, it is a news from Pacific Coast. And the Pacific Coast has witnessed a catastrophic decline in seawater population, decrease in seawater population since 2013. Over 5 billion sea stars have perished due to wasting disease. Over 5 billion sea stars have vanished, have died due to wasting disease because of the presence of wasting disease. This wasting disease causes rapid decline, rapid deterioration and death, deterioration of sea star, causing disturbance to their sea star health and causing eventually causing its death. Scientists have now identified the cause, and cause is making a this make a this, it is making a breakthrough in marine ecology and conservation efforts to save sea star in the Pacific coast. Outbreak and symptom. The epidemic begin in the epidemic means that is in that particular area in Pacific coast. Epidemic began in 2013, affecting sea stars from Mexico to Alaska. Infected animals developed. Whoever the sea star is getting infection, they in their body they have white lesions. Their arms got twisted and detached from the body. Within few days, their body turned to mush. The sunflower sea star, so their body turned to die also. The sunflower sea star scientific name is Pincopodia helianthoides. The sunflower sea star scientific name is Pincopodia helianthoides. Suffered the worst, suffered more, with 90 to 95 population loss in 5 years of sunflower sea star. California alone lost 99% of its sunflower sea star. What are the identification of the cause? A recent study identified the bacteria. The name of the bacteria is Vibrio pectinicidae. The bacteria which is infecting the sea star, the cause of this wasting disease is, it is caused by a bacteria, and name of bacteria is Vibrio pectinicidae. So this bacteria was found in high amounts in the coelomic fluid of C6C star. Whenever any sea star is infected by this bacteria, Vibrio bactenicidi, and it will go inside inside the sea star body, and this bacteria is found in high amounts in coelom of 6 sea star, but it is not present in healthy ones because it is not infecting healthy ones. It is only present in coelom of cavity fluid of 6 sea star, infected sea star. Earlier research had missed this by focusing on dead tissue. Earlier research did not get this information because they were focusing only on dead tissue. Not They have not observed the coelomic fluid of 6 sea star. The cause of this disease is bacteria Vibrio pectinicidi is known to infect shellfish, and these bacteria only grow in marine environments. Ecological impact. Seas. What are the ecological impact of sea stars? Sea star are keystone predators controlling sea urchin numbers. So their loss, if there is a loss of sea star in marine habitat, it led to sea urchin population to increase. So marine ecosystem will be disturbed. Urchin overreach kelp forest. If the number of sea urchin increase, so it will overreach kelp forest, wiping out of 95% of kelp in cause of 90 removal of 95% of kelp in northern California. So it will, if there is a loss of sea star, increase in sea urchin destroy kelp forest up to 95% in northern Cornea, and immediately it will destroy habitat and foods resources sources for many marine species, for many marine habitat, and it will affect fish also, and fisheries also. So the die-off is one of the largest, if it is die-off is the one of the largest marine mortality events recorded. So till now there is a more amount of sea star is dying off, is a major marine death till now recorded. About the recovery efforts and challenges, captive breeding and reintroducing are being explored. Researchers are investigating natural immunity in some sea stars to be improved by providing some things, and preventing potential probiotic treatments to be provided to the sea urchins. So, captive breeding, reintroducing potential probiotic treatments, natural immunity to be improved in sea stars. So, these are the efforts are taken to improve the sea star health. Rising ocean temperature also worsening the outbreaks of sea star by improving bacteria growth, vibrio growth. So linking the crisis to climate change. About habitat and biology of sunflower sea stars. Sunflower sea star inhabits intertidal and subtidal zones. So sunflower sea stars found in intertidal and subtidal zones from Alaska, Aleutian Islands to northern Baja California. So they live up to 435 meters deep on rocky, sandy and muddy substrates. About the sunflower sea states, data on their population is very limited, but the disease has caused sequential declines. There are many less number of sunflowers has reported now from south to now north. So, but the disease has caused their loss from south to north. About environmental stressor and research focus, disease remain the main threat to sunflower stars, death, loss of sunflower sea star population, and the role of environmental stressor are also there, which are linked to human driven climate change. It is not fully understood. These factors are our major focus on ongoing research. Understanding their influence is important for future disease management, and these is important species recovery to take care of the aquatic ecosystem. Next news is Nijut Monia 2.0 scheme. It is from Assam. Nijut Monia 2.0 scheme Assam government has intensified its effort to remove child marriage by 2026 by to eliminate child marriage by 2026. Chief Minister Himanta Biswa Sarma recently launched the second edition of Nijut Monia scheme. So Nijut Monia scheme, the motto is to eliminate child marriage in Assam by 2026. So this initiative aims to protect over 4 lakh girls from early marriage and support their education across the Assam. Nitun Monja 2.0 scheme details it reaches to cover girls in higher education, undergraduate, postgraduate courses. It will provide the girls to different types of education, higher undergraduate, postgraduate courses. It offers monthly financial assistance to ranging from 1000 to 2500 depending on the educational level of girls. This support aims to reduce financial burden that often lead to early marriage. Because of the financial burden, the parents are doing early marriage of their girl. So they are offering by this scheme, the girls are getting amount rupees 1000 to rupees 2000 depending on their educational background in which class they are studying. About eligibility and exclusion, all girl students are eligible from various background are eligibles. However, married girls except certain postgraduate and B.Ed students, daughter of minister, MPs, MLAs, and those receiving scooter awards under another scheme are excluded unless they opt out. So these ensure focus support for those most at risk. Most at risk focus on it. This Nijut Monia 2.0 scheme focus on educational empowerment by enabling girls to continue their studies without any intervention, without any interruption. So Assam provides universal free admission to students irrespective of any caste, creed and religion. The state's growing educational infrastructure support this inclusive approach. It is showing broader social impact. Assam aims to improve social equity, empower young women, and expanding the scheme to cover more beneficiary reflects the government's commitment to large scale social change. Next news is rising income disparity among India state 2025. Recent data shows growing income inequality among Indian states. Richer states are advancing rapidly while poorer states is lagging further behind. So southern and western states dominate the prosperity map. Southern and western states are dominating the prosperity map driven because of their manufacturing and investment friendly policies. So, what are the income growth and trend across different states? Richer states such as Gujarat, Karnataka, Tamil Nadu, Telangana, Kerala, Maharashtra have grown faster than the national average annual growth rate of 4.75%. Gujarat leads with 7% growth, followed by Karnataka 6.6%, Tamil Nadu 5.9%, Bihar, Jharkhand, and Uttar Pradesh so slower or negative relative growth. So Bihar, Jharkhand, and Uttar Pradesh is lagging a lot, showing negative relative growth, slower or negative relative growth. Some states like Odisha have recently improved by attracting major investment. Gujarat's per capita income increased from 138% to 180% of the national average between 2011-12 and 2023-24. Bihar fell from 34% to 29.6%, depending and deepening the divide. So Bihar fell. About data estimation challenges, state per capita income estimates rely on net state domestic product and population data from 2011 census. This figure do not fully account for migration and changing fertility rates. This causes inaccuracy in state level income comparison. Despite this, the broad pattern of widening income gaps remain clear. So role of manufacturing and investment, manufacturing expansion definitely improve the growth in richer states. So the richer states benefit from skilled labor, supply networks, knowledge spillovers. Gujarat surpassed Maharashtra in manufacturing output since 2017-18 due to a more business-friendly climates. Our southern states aggressively attract global firms like Foxconn and aerospace companies. Andhra Pradesh alignment with central policy and focus on high-tech sectors help in its investment appeal. So these are the reason these states are improving in manufacturing and investment, and they are in the good stage. About the policy and business environments, richer states offer better infrastructure, law and order, governance. Tamil Nadu's success in providing employment to women, migrant workers in factories is a key factor in attracting labor intensive manufacturing. Poorer states face challenges like weak institutions, weak infrastructures. Odisha recent gains show the impact of targeted investment in resource-based industries. So Odisha recently shown targeted investment in resource-based industries. What are the lessons for inclusive growth? To reduce differences, to reduce disparities, national policy must be encouraged to invest in investment dispersal to poorer states. Creating incentive and improving business climates are essential to remove these differences, to reduce these disparities. Labor intensive manufacturing can absorb large population in poorer region. Southern and western states demonstrate how policy reform and industrial focus drives sustained economic growth. So these are about now. Next news is Ladakh's botanical garden project. Ladakh's botanical garden in eastern Ladakh, it is a news Ladakh. So in eastern Ladakh, the Sayok village is transforming 10 hectares of barren community land into Union Territory's first botanical garden. So it is located on the route to the Galwan Valley. It is an initiative to present Ladakh's unique biodiversity. So this project is supported by Leh Hill Council and is a part of Go Green, Go Organic campaign. So completion is expected by the year 2029. So project background and location, Sayog village lies on the way to the Galwan Valley. It has barren lands and it is being converted into a green zone to conserve local flora and fauna. So Leh Hill Council is providing civil work support, including land tilling and water reservoir construction. So the government has allocated 1 crore rupees for this project. Key objectives is to restore the ecological balance by conserving different types of traditional fruits like apricots and apples. It also protect medicinal plants and dry high altitude flora. It promotes ecotourism and provides sustainable livelihoods to local communities. It About the tourism and economic potential situated because it is situated on the Galwan Valley route. The garden is having poised to become a uh, major reason of many ecotourism spot. Environment and social benefits are also this garden will improve biodiversity and improve soil fertility also. It promotes conservation of rare plants and these plants, few plants are medicinal. Now, about educational and research importance, this botanical garden will serve as a center for botanical studies. It will attract students, scientists, and research interest in Ladakh's unique ecology. So, this garden support research on plant species adapted to high. So, these are about the news part. Up to we have learned 52 news. In the next series, we will learn 53 to 65 news, and then the 50 to 9 to 15th August series will be completed. Then on Saturday, 23rd of August, I will upload the next series. Weekly current affair and science technology. Stay consistent. Watch my next series. Thanks for watching. Best of luck for your forthcoming exam.